welcome to our Wednesday edition of the Fightnwords Network. And, of course, we're looking forward to an outstanding 2 hours of sports conversation. To steal our normal correspondents are all around the country to talk about what's happening on this day in the world of sports. And so we'll get right to it. Frank Carroll, our executive producer at the controls. And, Frank, first of all, you had two things you wanted to touch at the top. One, the new deal for the Rays for 76. Or for 26, and also what's going to happen with Amalie Arena.
Okay, Don. Before we do that, we're dedicating this program, and since we've been off, there's been 12 police officers either killed or maimed in the last 2 weeks, and we wanted to send our deepest sympathies out to those families. Many of them are good friends of ours, and many of them are their families listen. The one thing we've always said that if you have the guts to put the badge on, to walk out that door, not knowing if you're going to come back and see your family that night, that takes guts. We need to support these guys and girls out there, whether they're police or firemen or first responders. Okay, so today it was announced, Roy, I'm sure you're well up on this one, that we have a new benchmark arena, international arena.
Congratulations, yes.
Yeah, they now the one thing I did pick up from is that they're going to donate $3 million from the transfer of name to communities, the welfare communities, to help the veterans and with housing, help with homeless people, and it sounds like it's a great deal. It's just changing the name like they did from the Tampa Trib or St. Pete Times Forum to Amalie. Now it's Benchmark. The other thing that was of importance since we've been off is a letter was received by the city council in St. Petersburg offering a $40 million buyout for the 26-27 season. Again, I did call you right away, Roy. Do you have anything more up on that?
No, I don't. And, there's a lot to chew on there. It's a $40 million buyout, which, okay, for new owners that just paid over $1 billion for a team, you could say, okay, that's doable. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you also have to have some help to go. Mm-hmm. Which they don't have. So I think it's just an option. I don't know really what it means. We haven't heard from the new ownership group. I'm not even sure has been completely, brought in yet. I don't think they're running the team yet.
No.
There's a lot going on still. It still has to be done before this new ownership group has a say in anything. And so I think this is just kind of, business as usual type of thing. I don't think it means much of anything for now for what the Rays are going to be doing because they can't go anywhere. They have nowhere to go at this point. So, in order to pay out $40 million, before you do that, you better have some place to go. And right now they don't have it.
Well, you made a good point.
I was just going to say the same thing. My understanding was that Mr. Steinbrenner, in making the agreement with the Rays to bring the team over to their spring training complex, but it was strictly a one-year deal. And he was not looking forward to going into a long-term, while they were building a new stadium or making their transition from wherever they're going to go to where they're going to be. So they're very much up in the air, I would say, because the Yankees just aren't really looking forward to using their ballpark again for a site for the Rays. Exactly. That's another point that I think has to be, you're absolutely right, Don. There was a one-year deal, an emergency measure to allow the Rays to play this season. Going forward, they're going to have to find another venue, I think. Either that or, fix the Trop. And, look, they can obviously play, outdoors. They can make it work here. Maybe that's part of the plan is to, part part of next season they spend, playing outdoors in essence, while the roof is being repaired. Because they can repair everything else inside. I think, but again, it's way too soon to know what the Rays are going to be doing next year. That's we're still months away from having a decision on that, I think.
We know, Roy, you brought up the point.
Right now to Tampa, Florida, and of course joins us the first half hour each and every week on the Fighting Network, and we talk about what's happening not only in the Tampa area with the teams that are doing so well down there, but what's happening around the country as well. So, Roy, good once again. We're going to let you jump out a little early tonight because I know you got a TV show coming up at 25 after the hour. So we'll make sure we get you out on time.
Hey, Roy, you brought up a great point.
Go ahead, Frank.
You brought up a great point. Whether the new ownership has gotten itself together or not, the letter came from Sternberg. It didn't come from the new group.
Well, I think that has to be the case because, again, the official transfer of ownership hasn't taken place.
Right.
I don't, there's just a deal in place for the team to be sold. It hasn't. I don't even think the new owners have. Passed whatever. The entire ownership group of the league because this is already under the league. They're going to have a say in this too. They have to be voted in, and I'm sure they probably will be because the league is anxious to move on from Sternberg to his group. But at the end of the day, that still has to happen. It hasn't happened. It will happen probably at the winter meeting, is my guess. That's when you'll start to see, and that's when you'll start to see more concrete, ideas about what it is that the Rays are going to do for next year. I think all along the plan was to try to get them back into the Trop for next season.
Right.
And I still think that's probably part of the plan. Again, I don't know how far along they are on that, how long it's going to take. But again, they've proven that, through 3/4 of the season here, and they've been able to, play games outside here in Tampa Bay and make it work and draw crowds nevertheless. And, it doesn't mean that they can't do it at the Trop, or someplace like Lang Field too. So,
right.
Or Orlando. So again, there are options, and just because and again, Don made an excellent point about what the Yankees have said about using their facility, but if it has to go another year, well, then maybe it does. They've made that work too, and it is a Class A team that's playing there for the Yankees. So I think the Yankees, maybe take a cut of what they get out of it. Who knows? Hard to know how that deal is going to go, but I would think that if push came to shove, the Yankees would probably allow the Rays to spend yet another season there if they had to.
Mm-hmm.
That's Roy Cummings, and he's in Tampa, Florida. And of course, we'll be talking about the Bucks a little bit later on. Some of the other things happening not in Tampa, but around the baseball front. Because right now, a lot of fun on the baseball front. Unfortunately, as we go down to Atlanta, Roger Henry and Lynn Brazier had their problems. They're playing the Phillies again, and so it'll be interesting to see how they make out with that deal with the Mets and the Phillies. And the Mets are going downhill quickly. The Brazier status quo going downhill.
Check your phone and see what happens.
They were right there all the way up. And Roy, your Cubbies are having some problems too. They can't get a long, consistent win streak going. So baseball is becoming very, very interesting in the middle of August. Yeah, what's interesting is the fact that the Brewers are now the winningest team in baseball.
Check your phone and see what happened to Jerry Jones.
Except for the Cynics in Chicago, perhaps.
Yeah.
But it's again, this is why teams like the Mets and the Dodgers. Now, I was working out for the Dodgers, obviously, but teams like the Mets and the Yankees that decide to spend $240 million on their payroll. It's just like, what are you getting for it? You're not really getting that much. And it's like, look, I hear it in Chicago all the time. They get upset if the Cubs don't spend $220 million on their team. And it's like, well, okay, you spend an extra little bit of money, but what does it do for you? I mean, it may not, it doesn't, you can't, I suppose you can buy a championship. You still can. You always could, I suppose. The Yankees, have done it in the past. Other teams have done it. The Dodgers, it's working for them. But, a team like the Brewers and the Tigers, they're not spending a whole bunch of extra money on people. They're developing players in their system, bringing them up, and playing good baseball, and that's really and that's what does. And you know what, the Rays are not, and we've seen it repeatedly here in Tampa. Money is not the source or the way to build a baseball team. It's really through player development and smart trades and just putting a winning brand together. Really, I mean, the Cardinals for years, put together a winning brand of baseball consistently. This is not the year it hasn't happened right now.
Why?
But at the end of the day, they have been a consistent team. They've always, been in the mix. And before the Oakland A's started selling off their best players, they were in the mix. A lot of the best players, if you look around baseball, some of the best players in the game used to be with the Oakland A's. Talking about Marcus Semien at second base, Olsen at first base, Chapman at third base. Still have a couple of pitchers that are out there, So, it can be done no matter where you are, no matter what your market is. And that's what makes it interesting always. We talked about it the last couple of weeks on the Roger next, because the team that we've been looking forward to seeing the Braves in the couple of years, everybody talking about the young talent, the great work they've done in the front office, the great administrative they worked. But unfortunately, between injuries and things just not coming together, the Braves are not doing what everybody thought they were going to do, and they're down in the middle of the pack right now. So, Roger, they're going to be a little happy, I would think.
Yeah, well, I think that what's going to happen is Brian Snitker, it's pretty much assumed he's going to retire at the end of the season. And it may have been the case whether the Braves had a free fall like they have this year. They've had a lot of injuries to key players, but a lot of players have not performed up to expectations. And I think the Phillies still have issues because they're just not hitting. Last night they got one run. Last time I checked, it was they were playing the Reds. They split the series so far, 1-1. But it was nothing. I think in the third inning. But they just are not hitting. They've won some games, but I'm not happy. I am concerned about their hitting once they get into the playoffs. I think the pitching, the starting pitching and the relief pitching seems to. We knew they had great starting pitching, but the relief pitching seems to have really surfaced in a positive way, and they've got a closer now. So, but they got to hit. If they don't hit, they're not going to win.
And it's very interesting because Suarez, who had been playing so well, pitching so well, consistently for him. In last night's game, I don't know whether you had a chance to see or how much of he had a chance to see, but his velocity was down about 2 or 3 miles an hour per pitch after the second inning. He just didn't have command of his pitches that he had through the first 3 quarters of this year, and they got to be a little concerned about that. Dombrowski's done a great job. He also redid the bullpen when they came and gave him a chance to make some room there. But it's not going to be and of course, Schwarber's having one of the great years of Philly's history right now, and he keeps them winning. But you're right, they got to keep playing.
Yeah, they got to keep on and get some more hitting. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Schwarber winds up with Cincinnati. That's going back to his home area, and I'm sure they're going to make a big play for him. I think the Phillies will. There's probably a number of other teams too, but that wouldn't surprise me if he winds up with Cincinnati.
Roger, you're fading out a little bit, Roger, but that would be a big mistake for the Phillies, I think, to let him get away. The Cubs made that mistake, and then I think they regret it to this day. I think if you ask the Cubs hierarchy, if there was one you should have kept, one you should have held on to, should you have held on to Schwarber? I think they probably would say yes. And I think the Phillies. I mean, look, you just don't find power hitters like that. I mean, he's one of half a dozen power hitters that can hit 40 home runs consistently, and those guys are they're just rare. And he does hit for a decent batting average for the most part.
You can't expect much more than 220 out of a guy like that usually, but he can do it. And if you need him in a pinch, he can play for you a little bit.
Left field?
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, and even first base. So, and I think he'd be willing to do it. Look, if he goes to Cincinnati, he might hit 55 or 60 homers. But I just think the Phillies would. Look, the Cubs regret letting Kyle Schwarber get away. I think the Phillies would regret it too, because again, it's not. I mean, it's a team that they're going to roll the same players out there every day. I mean, that lineup is pretty set. There's not a whole lot of difference, except maybe in center field between Rojas and Marsh. But at the end of the day, it's not like they have somebody they can replace him with. And in order to replace him, you have to spend a lot of money. And in order to get the player you want, you're going to have to spend about what you would make in a new contract with another team too. So, I hear what you're saying. I believe that could happen. Schwarber may have a desire to go play in Cincinnati, but I think the Phillies got to work hard to try to keep that together. Because let's face it, guys. Okay, they might be struggling tonight, struggled last night, whatever. They're still one of the top 8 teams in baseball, and I still think right now. I mean, if you were to pick the teams that you think are going to be there in the World Series, I still think they get as many votes as anybody. I mean, they're right there with the Dodgers. I think they're better than Milwaukee, better than Toronto, better than the Yankees. I think they're better than a lot of teams. And I still think, they'll be right there at the end of the day and have a very good chance of winning this thing as long as the pitching holds up.
Well, I think as you said at the top of the show, Roy, and I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, who could have forecast the Yankees were going to do what they've done over the last 3 weeks? And who could have forecast with the Mets? I mean, to think that the Mets, could lose 11 games in a row with the team that they have. But the problem is their pitching has been so inconsistent. The Yankees have had just terrible pitching, either because of injuries or because they're just trying to bring guys up that are not, they can pitch 4 innings. They can pitch 4 and a third. But these are the bullpen for 6 and 8 guys a night. You can't win like that.
No, you can, and you made a very good point about the pitching. Look, it's one thing to load up on hitters, which obviously they've done. They retained Pete Alonso, which had to be done. Juan Soto was brought in. Obviously, Lindor. You've got a good solid 8 behind the pitchers, but when your biggest acquisition is Frankie Montas. I mean, to me that just says, okay, you're basically going with what you got. And look, I like David Peterson as a middle of the rotation guy, but that's what they've got. They got a bunch of middle rotation guys. So if Griffin Canning is the guy that you're leaning on, and he's had a great season, probably a better season than he ever had in Los Angeles with the Angels. But when those are the guys that are, with Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas and Griffin Canning are the acquisitions you bring in to kind of fill out your starting rotation. Your expectations have to be kind of low. You're not bringing in an ace, okay? And maybe those aces weren't out there. But at the end of the day, I think a little bit less money on Juan Soto, a little bit more on solid starting pitchers might help that team a lot. Because basically what they got is, arms that have been hurt, arms that are middle of the rotation guys anyway. So when you throw, constantly throwing your third starter out there every night, well, you're gonna have runs like this. But even good teams have these runs. Everybody goes through these slumps. It's just what it all really comes down to, guys. It's the last month of the season, last month and a half, obviously. It's going to be really, really interesting to see if teams like the Brewers can hang on. Can the Cubs get back into it? These wild card teams, can the Yankees somehow revive themselves? Can the Mets get back into it? Can the Blue Jays hang on? It's going to be really interesting to see because a lot of teams have obviously done a lot to make themselves better, and for some teams it's worked, and some teams just, as I said before, just bringing up their guys and going through the natural, progression of bringing prospects up through the minor leagues, and those are the teams that surprisingly are are playing the best baseball right now. It seems like the Blue Jays and the Brewers.
Well, especially the Brewers. I know the Blue Jays are playing well too. You're correct, but the Brewers have just been. I mean, we've talked about it week in and week out. How many people across the country, can how many players can they need? Well, the Brewers team is going to step up and have that kind of consistency, both offensively, defensively, and team-wise, and pitching and bullpen. I mean, they've just done a terrific job. And who would have forecast that Stanton would have played 3 games in a row in right field for the Yankees because they're just short of people. And Judge, with his shoulder problems, can't throw too much. He's sort of limited a little bit over the last 10 days to a week. These things are happening. And not only that, but as you indicate, and Rogers did the same thing with Atlanta. They go to the bullpen and they go somewhere else for the third or 4 run lead in the 7th or 8th inning, and they wound up losing the game 10-9, 8-7. I mean, they just haven't been able to get consistency out of the bullpen or consistency out of their offensive players, Roger.
Well, and talking about the Phillies, they're down 1-0. And you're right. Last night, Suarez gave up 3 runs early, and they never came back. For a long time, they only had 1 hit, and then they finally got a run. And already they're down tonight. I mean, if they're not a pretender to really go far in the playoffs, they have got to hit, and they have got to get on the board right away, so that the pitching remains strong like it has been. But they just have got to hit, and they're not hitting. They really are not hitting. And I think
but you know what's amazing, guys? About we're lamenting the Phillies. Why, I'm not really sure. I'm looking at the schedule here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the last 11. They've won.
But Roy, they have not hit.
They've won.
They had 1 game where they got 13 runs.
Roger, you know what? That's what's great about that team. They're not hitting. And the pitching is inconsistent, as you guys have pointed out repeatedly. Yet they've won 8 of their last 11 games against Detroit, Texas, now Cincinnati, which is which has been hot, by the way. Cincinnati's been hot. So the only real dud team in there that they played during that stretch was 3 games against Baltimore, which is a struggle. But for the most part, they played pretty good teams. Texas, Detroit, Cincinnati, which has been hot. They won 8 of 11.
But the most amazing thing is
you're not hitting.
When
things start to go your way.
From the sixth inning on, they've outscored. Forget last night, but from the 6th inning on, they've outscored the competition 24-6.
There you go.
Well, yeah, but they came back because they have done very well coming back. But it's not. They had 1 game where they had 13 runs. Okay? Roy, I'm telling you, they've got to hit or they're going to have problems. They are not hitting.
Well, they're going to go up against some. Okay. Well, you know what? A lot of teams aren't hitting. Okay, the Yankees aren't hitting. You're right.
Oh, I'm not disputing that.
Yes, they've got to hit. Yes, they've got to hit. They've got to score more than 1 or 2 runs a game in order to get to the World Series, win the World Series, make it to the playoffs, whatever gauge it is that you want. But right now, as you guys are bemoaning all the issues with the Phillies, they've won 8 of their last 11. I can tell you right now, I can name half a dozen teams that wish they were that successful in the 8 of the last 11. That's the Yankees, the Mets, certainly Detroit, which has struggled over the last 2 weeks. The Cubs. There's a lot of teams out there that wish they were the Giants. A lot of teams wish they were winning 8 out of 11.
Well, you got to get to your TV show. It's 25 minutes after the hour, and I want to give you time to get set up over there. Roy, thank you very, very much. We'll do it all again next week on the Fight Network, and the boys will be ready to talk baseball 1 more time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Roy.
All right, guys. Thanks for the debate.
All right, we'll take a little break right here. We're going to come back.
Oh, shit. That's the wrong number. Hey, Ray, how are you?
No, Frank, you have to call a landline. This is my cell phone.
Okay.
It's 267.
Yeah.
534
Mm-hmm.
2883.
Okay. You're right there.
Thanks, bye.
Shit.
Hello?
Yeah, somehow we got cut. I'll get everybody's back in. Yep, well, I know.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I got it. I got it taken care of.
Okay. Is Ray on with us?
He's going to be on in just a second. I called his cell phone instead of his house phone.
Okay.
There we go.
The party you are trying to reach is
Oh,
currently
Jesus
not
Christ.
accepting calls at this number.
All right, well, we're going to do it this way. 1, 2, 6, 7, 5, 3, 4, 2, 8, 8, 7.
Your call has been forwarded to an
Jesus
automatic
Christ.
voice message system. 26753428887 is not available at this time. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1.
I had him on the cell phone, but he wanted me to do the house phone, and he's not answering the house phone. Oh, 2883. Ah, son of a bitch.
Hello?
Yeah, we're having electrical storms down here. It's cutting us off.
Well, we'll just carry it over here until we get it. Just let us know when we get Ray back, because we're having electrical storms up here as well. So,
Yeah. Okay.
The party you are trying to
Jesus
reach
Christ.
is currently not accepting calls at this number.
Damn it. Son of a bitch.
hello there.
Yeah, he keeps they don't answer their damn phone. I called. I'm going to have to call her back on her cell phone again.
Is Roger still on?
No, Roger's off. Here's Roger. There we go.
Ray,
You got,
just let me know when we go.
yeah, you guys can carry on, and I'll work this thing out.
Okay.
All right.
Roger, you and I talked quite a bit about Ray and his tremendous career as a writer. As of now, he's a playwright and had a great show the last few years in Philadelphia, which we were all fortunate enough to see a few times. And now he has written another play, and I wanted to talk to him about that because
Yes, Frank, you're calling my cell phone again.
Yeah, the other number keeps going to a voicemail. Says-
Okay, let me. Okay, let me give this to Ray. He doesn't like to use the cell phone because he doesn't hear very well.
yeah. Okay.
Hold on. Hey, hon, are you there? Hello.
Hey Ray, I'm sorry. We keep getting a voicemail on the other line. So
Okay.
I'll just put you right into the system.
So hopefully we can
Don?
get a chance to chat with a little bit tonight.
Don,
Yeah, okay.
Don's, he's on. Ray's on.
Ray with us. Yeah, hi.
Let me just remind all the people that are listening around the country, Ray Dininger, Roger and I are fortunate enough, everybody reads the bulletin. And nobody knew more about the bulletin than Ray Dininger. Ray, you came up the line, and that was one of the first newspapers and one of the best papers in Philadelphia. There were two papers I always look forward to on Monday. One was the Bulletin, following the weekend football activity, and the other was the Journal-American with Bill Corum and the great machine gun photography. They gave you 3 pages of machine gun photography. You got to see every block, every tackle, and the New York Journal-American and the Bulletin. You guys did such a great job over there as well. And I'll tell you, it was a real loss to the city of Philadelphia when the Philadelphia Bulletin went south.
Yeah, it was. The slogan, nearly in Philadelphia, nearly everybody reads the Bulletin was a true statement. I mean, the Bulletin was, at one time when I first went there in 1969, it was the largest circulation afternoon newspaper in America. It was number one. And then over time, afternoon newspapers fell out of fashion, and everything shifted to the AM papers, and the Bulletin got left behind. But you're right. I mean, you could see it in the circulation figures. On a Monday during the football season, when the Bulletin used to page after page with those machine gun sequence photos, before there was a highlight show, before there was ESPN, before there was, the way for people could actually watch plays develop the way they do now.
Right.
The machine gun photo was the closest thing you had to like NFL prime time. And people, and you can see the sales on a Monday after an Eagles game were huge because people were just going out to buy the paper to see that photography. It was groundbreaking in many ways.
I'll tell you, the photographers in some cases didn't get their just due because when you got the opportunity to see the Journal-American and the Bulletin on Monday and really pinpoint almost every important play in the game. I mean, it was really a treat to have the opportunity to see it.
Yeah.
So now they tell me you're going to write it. You're not going to. You're writing another play. You told me last year when I was at your show, you one and done, but now you're coming back with another one, huh?
Yeah, well, I thought it was one and done with Tommy and me, but there was another story that I had actually written for the Philadelphia Bulletin back in 1971 that had always just lingered in my mind, and it was a story about ice hockey. And I carried it around in my head for about 50 years, and finally I decided about a year ago, let me sit down and try and write this. So I wrote a play called Spinner, and the Delaware Theater Company saw the script and said, we want to do it. So it's going to be on the stage in September. We open September 17th. We start rehearsal next week.
Ready for the opening of the hockey season. Go ahead, Roger.
Ray, where exactly is it Delaware Theater? Is that in Wilmington? Yes, it's in Wilmington, 95, down in what they call, in Wilmington, they call the Riverfront. Right. It's a lovely theater. I mean, we did Tommy and Me, my other play. We did Tommy and Me there in 2021 when the theater reopened after the pandemic. When they reopened the theater after the pandemic, they reopened it with Tommy and Me. So we were there for a nice long run in 2021, had a great experience, and now they're come to me and they're ready to bring me back again, and this time with a play about the National Hockey League and the rough and tumble 70s. And like I said, we start rehearsal next week, and we have a great cast. We have seven of the best actors working in the Philadelphia area, and I'm really, really excited about it.
Well, it's great because you and I remember those days with the Ramblers when you had 4,000 people, fans at the arena, and people never thought the NHL would take off, and obviously it did in Philadelphia, which is wonderful. And I think that's great. I just, I wanted to also let folks know that you're going to be on WIP every weekend during the football season, I understand, plus other times during the week. So I know I always look forward to your show with Glenn Matt now on the weekends. And but I heard on Saturday, Mike Stilsky and Rob Ellis were talking about that you're going to be on regularly. And I thought it was really funny when you were at the Hall of Fame. You couldn't get through. You said at the Holiday Inn because the switchboard was inundated. So you called from the hotel room to the. I did. It was great. I did. It was anybody that's ever been to Canton during Enshrinement Weekend knows what hotels are like, and knows what the lobbies are like, and knows what the switchboard is like. And trying to call into there it's very hard. So I looked at the clock. I knew it was late, and so I said, "Yeah, they must not be able to get through." So I called them, and you're right, Raj. I talked to Mike Stilsky and Rob Ellis coming on and doing a regular every Saturday during the season. Just doing like a 15, 20-minute call-in where we can talk about the Eagles, talk about the state of the NFL, and all of that, and just make it a regular part of the weekend show. So I'm going to do that, and I believe I'm also going to be calling the morning show with Joe DeCamera and John Ritchie the day after every Eagles game, be it a Monday, be it a Tuesday. Whenever the day after any Eagles game, I'll be checking in with those guys for part of the morning show.
Oh, that'd be great. Hall of Famer Ray Didinger with us this evening. And, of course, Ray, you really touched on one of the things I want to lead into on the show this evening, and that is that, I guess we're old-timers, and I go back a long time, as you do as well. And I would like to get some of your observations of when you enjoy the National Football League the most, and what has happened recently. Are you as pleased with the difference in kickoffs and the difference in rules and things that are happening? Are you as pleased with the league today as you were in, say, forget 1960, let's not go back that far, but let's say in 70. Let's go from 70 up.
Yeah, well, 70 is when I started covering it. 70 is when I first started covering the team and the league for the Bulletin. So that's a fair place to start. I'll tell you, though, I love the game. I still love the game. I suspect I'll always love the game. But I just see problems. There's some things that are going on with the league now that I don't care for. I think aren't healthy. I think that while I was originally a supporter of instant replay, and I know it's not going anywhere, I look at the games and I look at the officiating, and I think it's worse. One of the things I really hate the direction we're moving here, which is all these international games, which I think are foolish. I think they're unfair to the teams. I think it's I guess it's a great marketing vehicle for the league that they get to sell T-shirts at Dusseldorf. But I mean, it's to me, it's I don't see the point of putting, like the Eagles last year, putting a team on a plane and flying them 10 hours each way to play a game on a field that wouldn't even be a good high school field. Is that what the NFL is supposed to be? I don't think so. I'm really bothered by. I hate Thursday night football. I just think it's an abomination. I mean, if I was the commissioner of the league, the first thing I would do would be kill Thursday night football. I think it's ridiculous. To make teams like you're going to play Thanksgiving Day. Okay, I kind of get Thanksgiving Day in football. I kind of get that. But every Thursday night, I just think that the direction we're moving down this year, they're going to play on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. We're going to be playing games on Friday. And late in the season, they play games on Saturday. We're moving in a direction now where it's going to be like the NBA. And I mean, they're moving in a direction now. They're going to have an NFL game like every night. And, football is not basketball. I mean, you can't keep screwing around with the schedule and asking these guys to play long weeks, short weeks, off weeks, on weeks. There's supposed to be a rhythm to the football season. And coaches need time to prepare for games, and players need time to heal. And the way the league is moving, the direction they're moving in now, with the schedule being as upside down and helter-skelter the way it is, I just think it's unfair to the coaches and players, and I think it's ultimately bad for the game.
Roger?
Well, it's a great point. I totally concur with you, Ray. And I felt that way about Thursday night football. I really don't watch it. And Don and I we're two people that won't pay extra for something like that. But I'm very concerned about health, like you are, of the players with these short weeks, these long flights, like you said, 10 hours down to Sao Paulo, Brazil. And then now, going to Europe, the next thing they'll be in Australia, which is a 24-hour flight.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think you can get very greedy, which obviously, you can say the owners are, but you can also have an overkill. And that's what I am afraid about the NFL, that sooner or later it's just going to be an over, and it's really going to hurt the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how the fact that the coaches haven't had enough time to prepare and the players haven't had enough time to practice, they don't care. They don't care. Because all they're doing is they just hear the cash register ringing. And to me, that is not thinking in the best interest of the game.
Well, I can understand in both sense. I can understand from a business standpoint, because you look at the ratings for football across the board, and almost every game, regardless of where it is, it does better at night than most of the other programs all put together. So there's no question about it. It's a money-making machine. But on the same token, I gotta say, when growing up, I want to go back into the 50s and the 60s, and you look so forward to seeing the Eagles play, to seeing the Giants play, to seeing, whatever. I mean, to me, if you ask me about the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm not turning that on Thursday night. I don't care about the Raiders. It doesn't, unless it's a really important game. I mean, they've washed me out.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone there, Don. I mean, I kind of feel the same way. I love the game. I love from the time I was a little kid. I've been covering it for 50 plus years, and I still love it. But I mean, if it's a Thursday, you just said if it's a Thursday night game and it's Tennessee against the Houston Texans, am I going to watch it? Yeah, probably not. I just wonder if we're approaching a tipping point where it's just too much, And you're right. If you look at the ratings will tell you that people are still watching in huge numbers. And obviously, people are always going to watch the postseason. Everybody's going to watch the Super Bowl because it's a cultural event. But is it good for the game? I mean, with the product on the field, is it good for the coaches? Good for the players? That's why a real true commissioner of the sport, who is in place in theory to make decisions that are in the best interest of the game, wouldn't allow that.
Ray, you give me one commissioner. I get one sport. The only guy I can even give a chance to is Bedman. At least he has some sort of forethought on getting the players together, getting the owners together, getting contracts together. But I mean, how about if they go on strike again with the baseball now? Lockout, another lockout. I mean, are you kidding me?
No, I agree, Don. That's what I'm saying. In what commissioners were established to be, the idea of what a commissioner was supposed to be was somebody who made decisions that were in the best interest of the game. And
right.
And the commissioner was there as a steward to the fans to try and make sure that the game was good, to make sure the game was under control. Well, you don't have that now, and it's not just the NFL; it's in all the sports. And the thing we haven't even discussed yet, which maybe is the biggest danger of all, is the proliferation of gambling.
Oh, wow.
I remember. Listen, when CBS created the first real true studio show, the NFL Today, with Brent Musburger and Phyllis George and Irv Cross and Jimmy the Greek, when they put that show on the air, which was truly groundbreaking, it was the first real kind of studio show of its time. The order came down from Pete Rozelle, who was the commissioner, that Jimmy the Greek, who was a professional gambler, was on the show, and CBS wanted him on the show. And Roselle said, okay, he can be on the show, but he can never, I repeat, never, underline it, exclamation points, ever use the word point spread. Do you believe that? Jimmy the Greek is on the and he could not say the word point spread. Okay, now that was the law of the land then. Look at it now. I mean, as people are sitting in the stands making bets as the game's going on their telephones. You mean to tell me that that's not a real threat? You talk about the integrity of the game. You mean to tell me that the integrity of the game isn't threatened by the things that we're seeing now with the way teams are now partners with gambling operations? Look, I hope it doesn't happen, but I feel it's almost inevitable that we're heading towards some sort of a huge gambling scandal. Be it fixing games, point shaving, whatever it is. I mean, they've normalized gambling to a very unhealthy degree. To be people gambling now, it's like ordering a pizza. It's that easy. Yeah. You just pick up your phone and you hit a couple buttons and it's done. And the easier access it is to it, the more people that do it, the more chance there is and the more likelihood there is that something really bad is going to happen. Nobody even talks about that, but I worry about it.
I'm with you. Roger?
Oh, I am too. And what I'm concerned about is exactly what you're alluding to. You're going to have a big scandal, and that would really be a real hurt into the heart of the NFL if you had a big scandal like that. I think. I don't know about whether you agree or not.
Oh, sure. I mean, but it's out there for all of them. You know, It's out there for every sport. It's out there for tennis. You know, I mean, it's out there, and I just feel it's going to happen. And who wants to deal with that? But with the numbers of people that are betting, and the amount of money that's being bet, and the easy access that people have to it, and the fact that players now can bet, we're headed down a very dangerous road here that none of us. I never saw it coming like 20 years ago, but it's here now, and I just don't know how it can possibly have a happy ending.
Right. I think one of the things that you remember very well, I remember very well, and you talked about it, taking these teams to fields that are really not what you would call championship type of fields, whether they're soccer fields or whether they're football fields, or using the most talented people in the world in their particular sport, and you're putting them on a field that's not ready to play. I give Baltimore all the credit in the world. When they came in to Philadelphia, they said, we're not playing a game. As simple as that. We're not going to play.
Yep. Well, they were the defending world champs then. They were coming off having just won the Super Bowl.
Right.
And so, Brian Billick was in a position where he could walk out on the field at Veterans Stadium and look at that turf and say, I'm not putting my team out here. And they didn't, the two player reps came out. Troy Vincent was the player rep for the Eagles, and he came out, and he and Ray Lewis walked around on the turf, and they both shook their heads and said, no, we're not playing. And that was it. And they didn't play. That's the kind of thing that, listen, Veterans Stadium, that Astro tip, Don, you remember it well. It was a terrible playing surface. Now, fortunately, the vet is gone, and the Eagles play on a pretty good surface now at the link. But the field they played on last year, on the Friday night, the big night, on the Thursday night national kickoff game, huge audience, national audience, and they're playing on a field that it was like a 100-yard banana peel, And you guys, the team flies 10 hours, which, trust me, the players hated it. They hated it. And of course, and they should. They're getting ready to start a season now, and you're going to fly 10 hours to play a game in Brazil on a field that you wouldn't even put a high school team on? I mean, come on. Now, who's making those decisions? Who on Park Avenue is making those decisions? Yeah, they made a lot of money, got a lot of viewers, it got big ratings on TV, but was it a good game? Was it good for the game? I would argue not.
No, absolutely not. Roger, we got 3 minutes to go with Ray, and I'll let you two wind it up with the last question of the evening, and I'll thank Ray very, very much for looking forward to your new play, Ray, and thank you so much as always coming on with us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Give us the title of the play again. It's going to be at the Delaware Theater in that riverfront area of Wilmington.
Correct. The play is called Spinner. It's going to be at the Delaware Theater Company, which is right there in Wilmington. We open on September 17th, and our special guest that night will be none other than the great Bernie Perrant.
Oh, baby.
He'll be joining us. And actually, the gentleman the play is about is a player named Brian Spencer, who played for the Maple Leafs and then later played for the Sabres. And Bernie Perrant was his teammate in Toronto, and then later played against him in the Stanley Cup Finals when the Flyers beat the Sabres. So Bernie's going to be there and doing a Q&A after the performance to talk about hockey in that era and talk about his memories of Brian Spencer. So that's opening night, September 17th, and then the play runs right through Sunday, October 5th. People can go to the Delaware Theater Company website. You'll see the complete dates. And also other special guests that we have. Joe and Jimmy Watson are coming. Brian Propp is coming. We have Angelo Cataldi is going to be there one night. So we've got a lot of special guests who are going to be appearing, doing Q&As after each performance.
All right, we're going to go from one Hall of Famer to another. We're going to go from Roy Cummings, the Rays manager, and then we're going to go to Chris Wheeler, one of the broadcasters for the Philadelphia Phillies for so many years, and we're going to get a little baseball conversation. Once again, Ray, thank you so very, very much. We'll get together again.
Thanks, Ray.
Pleasure to be with you guys.
Take care, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll take a break right.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
I'm good.
All right, I'm going to put you right in the system.
Monday Night Football.
Done?
It used to be, great. They would have the broadcasters when you had it at the home. They'd have a luncheon, and it was like a big deal. And look at the Buddy Ryan show you had, and how everybody used to look forward to that leading into Monday Night Football, like when I did the Troy Vincent show, leading into Monday Night Football.
Hey, Roger and Don, we're joined by the illustrious voice of the Phillies, Mr. Chris Wheeler.
Always a pleasure to have Chris join us, and a long-time broadcaster with the Philadelphia Phillies. But before I talk about the Phillies and some of the things that have happened in the last week or so with the Hall of Fame and some of the people that have been put up on the wall this week, I was very, very happy to see that Penn State, for the first time since 1959, was placed in the number 2 position behind the University of Texas going into the season for the national championship that we look forward to seeing.
Well, Don, first of all, it's good to talk to you guys, and that means nothing.
Because Penn State's number 1 in another poll.
Yeah, and that means nothing. I mean, they finished the season when they should have beat Notre Dame, so don't get me started on that. Well, Penn State, look, since you brought it up, hey, look, they have a good team. So do, 50 other schools right now. But they have a really good team. They have really good players. They were the 3rd best team in the country last year when you get into the playoffs and all that stuff.
Right.
So and they got a lot of guys coming back that could have gone to the NFL and decided to come back for another year. So, you got to look at them and think, they should be pretty good this year. But, it's not like the NFL you're talking about, that they get the taxi squads or practice, whatever the hell they call them. When you get guys hurt in college football, you don't necessarily replace them. So that's what it comes down to, whether or not you can keep the good players healthy all year.
Well, it should be a great season this year, no question about it. Penn State, you go back a long time, and a lot of territory covered at Penn State. The Division lines have been a great school and a great football program. But I want to go to this weekend. I had a great chance to see the on sports NBC Sports Philadelphia. I guess it was Sunday. I watched it. The whole piece on Richie Allen and Dick Allen. I keep calling him Dick Allen. I thought they did a terrific job. And I'd like you to make some comments, because you and I were there in the beginning, we were there in the middle, and we were there at the end, right?
right? Well, the beginning was, he was one of my baseball heroes when I was a kid. We were teenagers when he came up, and getting into college and that sort of stuff. But he was one of those guys you'd wait and see if he had another at bat, you'd stay because he might hit it over the Coca-Cola sign out of the Total Ballpark, County Max Stadium. And then, went through the horrible racial problems we had in Philadelphia in the 60s, and that's all documented. Then he came back and, had a couple of good years. It was fun, got the Phillies into a point where they were a pretty good team. And then at the end there, he became an ambassador for the club and did a lot of stuff, did a lot of things for us. And it was a joke that he didn't get into the Hall of Fame when he was alive. But I loved the guy when I was a kid, and then when I got to know him, and Don, from being around him when you got to know him, he was a great, great guy, a great person, and totally misunderstood by a lot of people. Didn't have a mean bone in his body. Just one of the really good guys you ever want to know.
And I'll tell you, we're looking at some of the old film the other day, or Sunday, and some of the things that he did. And one of the interesting things to me was, and I know you comment on this too, Will, is that sometimes he'd come up at batting practice, and he manufactured batting practice. He didn't just go up there. He didn't just go up there and swing.
Yeah.
It was a reason for everything he did when he got in the batting cage, and he could do it left-handed. He could do it right-handed. He could do almost anything. I mean, it was an amazing talent.
Yeah, he was a silly gifted athlete, and from having been around him, he probably was only about 5'10", maybe 5'11". But those hands, when he'd shake your hands, he hit my wrist. Those hands were just unbelievable. And I remember when he came back, and one of his bat, and I said, "Can I touch that? Can I swing? Can I swing? Can I hold that?" "Yeah, go ahead." I said, "It really is 40 ounces." He still, it's all 40 ounces. I picked that sucker up, and it was huge. And when I gave a description of him one time that you'll appreciate from back in those days when you'd go watch him play, and you'd hear a crack when he'd hit, and then you see a poof of dirt in the infield. You never really saw the ball. It just went crack, poof, and it was into the outfield for a base hit. And that's how hard, who knows what the exit velocity and all that nonsense we got to go through nowadays was when Dick Allen would hit a baseball. He was an incredibly gifted athlete who unfortunately was totally misunderstood as a human being. And Phillies put him in a bad situation right out of the chute when they put him in Little Rock, Arkansas. Are you kidding me? They put him in Little Rock, Arkansas in the early 60s. And then what happened to him when he hit Frank Thomas. And every teammate that I talked to him said they wanted to hit Frank Thomas too, and he was right to hit him. But the fans turned on him because of, I don't want to get into all that, but it's all history now.
Yeah,
well, it is. And I was in college when he came up with the Phillies. And I'll tell you, Chris, I still have, I don't know if you remember, and you may have them too, the Bulletin did a number of, I would say like pencil sketching. I mean, they were sketches of the players. They weren't they were a picture, but it wasn't a regular picture. And they had a whole series, and I still have the Dick Allen one from the Bulletin when you bought the Bulletin and you got it included. But he just was magical when he would come up to bat. And you're right. I mean, I got to talk to him, later in his career, but just a class act. And I know Dan Baker has been really very strong, and I know he and Kathy were up at Cooperstown. But it really, he should have been in the Hall of Fame when he was still alive. And we also agree Bill White should too. Yeah, and he's been shortchanged.
Well, Bill White just for what he did as a league president too.
Right. I talked to Bill. I talked to Bill last week, and I said to him, because Bill was a very, very strong advocate of being in the Hall of Fame. He was very unhappy. In fact, he was the one that first nominated him to go into the Hall of Fame to begin with, and very unhappy with what the White Sox did over the course of the years to keep him out. And but it was just a sad story all the way down the line that You just said you didn't want he was alive. Too bad. But,
that was well put about doing it while he was alive. And look, I've been around him. I was around him a lot at those last 10, 15 years because he was around the Phillies a lot. And he really wasn't that big a deal to him. Now, whether it was, you weren't going to find that out. Right. But it was a big deal to Richard, his son, who looks, God, it's scary when you stand there. I just saw him the other night when I was down there at the Wall of Fame stuff, and I'd seen him in spring training too with Dan Baker, who Roger just mentioned, so close with him, and he looks just like him. I mean, he's taller and thinner, but he looks just like him. It meant a lot to that family that he could have gotten into the Hall of Fame while he was still alive, but then he got hit with a cancer. He should have gotten voted in before that, and one vote kept him out, which is a joke. But you know what? He's in. It's good for the family right now, and for those of us who really loved and cared about him, we're happy.
No question. Roger?
Well, that's the bottom line. Okay, the end result is that he's finally here. We have really comments on the first half hour, Chris. You and I had somewhat of a disagreement. I'm concerned about the Phillies hitting. I really am. And as he said, they've won, I think 13 of their last whatever number of games. But some of those games, they really had to come up and win very late. And the pitching has been really good. I think the bullpen's straightened out, and of course they finally got a closer. But what's your opinion? Are you concerned about the inconsistent hitting at best?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not like you do anything about it because you got guys making, and I don't get into the money because the game's harder to play now maybe than it was before because of the pitching that's involved. Well, the velocity, they don't see a guy 3-4 times a game, that sort of stuff. So it's harder to hit now than it's ever been. But yeah, I mean, you've got these guys making $20-30 million a year. That doesn't mean that they're superhumans, but they have to carry their load. The big boys do, and they're not. Some of the other guys have done a pretty good job at the bottom of the order recently to pull some games out because of the pitching. But that stuff's going to catch up to you. It's doing it again tonight, where they're getting shut out again tonight, late in the game in Cincinnati. So absolutely,
4-0 right now.
Yeah, and Sanchez was really, really good in that game early, and then they've gone 3 or 4 games where they didn't get a base runner until the 4th inning of some games, up 3 up and 3 down for 3 innings. So yeah, it's obviously it's a concern, but there's a lot of games still to go, and they have enough pitching and the bullpen stabilized enough, and their defense has been better lately. You have to hope that stays better, that they're a playoff team and that they should be a playoff team, but it's hard to say how far you can go. And it's not like they're chasing bad pitches all the time like they did in the playoffs and everything. They just get themselves out sometimes on pitches that are in the strike zone. So, yeah, I worry about it. Absolutely. They're not a good offensive team.
Okay, thank you.
As we spent some time with Rich during the last half hour, Wheels, and he's very concerned about sports in general. Where are the commissioners today? Where is the leadership from a commissioner's office? What about all this gambling that's going on now in Major League Baseball and in all sports, where you're now sitting in the stands worried more about betting, sitting in your seat in the stadium than you are worried about the game? I mean, what's going to happen here?
Well, you're talking to somebody who never gambled, and I'm not going to say gambling, you can't gamble because it is what it is. Never had any urge to gamble. Then it made me more anxious or more interested to watch a game, and that's what it comes down to. They're bored. People are bored. They can't just watch a game. They got to gamble. But the bottom line, Don, Roger, is revenue. They're getting incredible revenue from these gambling services. And, teams are limited in the revenue they can get in their gates on television. They've got to find revenue sources where this money is just being dumped in their laps, and it's dangerous, and it's been dangerous forever. But it's not going to change. It's only going to get worse because you're hooking kids younger and younger now that they don't watch the game. They do what you're saying, Don. They'll sit there and heck, they bet on a pitch. They'll bet on an out. And I feel sorry for guys like Tom McCarthy and all the broadcasters. Thank God I didn't have to do it, where they have to sit there and give these gambling lines on whether a guy is going to get a hit that night. It would be very hard to do. It'd be very hard to do, but you know what? Revenue is revenue, and revenue runs everything. And it's huge right now in all sports, the revenue that they're getting from these gambling sites.
Roger? Well, it is, and we were saying with Ray, and he made a great point. You got to worry about having a real gambling fiasco, okay, with players, and where I think it could destroy the game. I mean, because if you lose the confidence of the fan as far as performance goes, that can change everything, and fans will not forget it for a long time.
Oh, I totally agree. Ray Didinger is one of my favorites, too. You guys said you had him on and talk about a good guy. I think the only sport gambling scandal and all that couldn't destroy is the NFL, because nothing could do that.
Well, you never know. You're right. But you never know.
I'm dead serious about that.
Oh, I'm sure you are. I mean, because I think, what is it? The world's biggest corporation, right?
Look, when you're in other sports and you've been in other sports your whole life, people say you're jealous. Sure you are. Absolutely you're jealous of the NFL because they're untouchable. And they have a great product. Don't get me wrong. It's a great product. There's no doubt about it. They've done a tremendous job marketing. But when you say about gambling, I mean, where do you think gambling is the NFL? It always has been. Point spreads before there were, you were with a bookie or something. How do you bet on baseball? I mean, how do you bet on basketball? How do you bet on hockey? But the NFL has always been something you bet on. Of course, college football is getting where it's scary too, where it can be influenced that way. But look, the NFL is the NFL. It's I just don't see how even a gambling situation could take down the NFL. But you're right about the other sports; it sure could.
I think the other thing too, Wheels, that we just don't see the kind of leadership at the top administratively. Whether we talked about the commissioner's office in all the different sports, and I mean NBA. I don't know what the commissioner does. I don't know what his role is, because the sport itself is just going downhill faster than I can on in the NBA. But I can't watch a game anymore. I mean, the game is going way past me, but I don't want to see it happen to all the sports. It just doesn't seem like we have the leadership. Bill White talks about it all the time. There's no leadership at the top.
Well, and Bill's right, and we don't want to come off sounding like the old fossils that we are, because we are. But the bottom line is that the owners control the commissioners, basically. I mean, it's right. And you're going to change that? I don't see how you change that. That's what the unions are for the players. But they're trying to do that, and we're running up against that again now, because it's on the word salary cap out again. Of course, the baseball has never had one. They went to court all these times and lost, had all these lockouts and strikes and all that. And here we go again with the salary cap. It would be something that could help baseball a little bit. But look, and it's not the commissioner's fault in the sports that they're in, but they work for the owners.
No question about that.
Roger? Well, yeah, there is no question about it. And, that's what, Don was saying earlier, Chris, that it was supposed to be, and Ray said the same thing, was supposed to be the conduit between the fans and the owners and the players.
And I don't want to make it sound like the owners don't love the games. They do. I mean, they're in it. Look, I don't know that aren't some people or partners and different ownership that are in it for the money and the write-off, but they don't make a lot of money until they sell the club anyway. You guys all know that.
Yeah.
That's when you get your money from sports. But a lot of them are fans. They do love it. They want to do the right things. But to get all of them together to do something is very, very difficult because you're dealing with very, very strong businessmen. The guys that have been so successful their whole lives, they're used to controlling things. They're not used to being controlled. So that's kind of what you run into, I think, when you're a commissioner. You know, it's a lot of money to be a commissioner, and I'm sure it's prestigious and all this other thing. But if you talk about a thankless job, what's that guy do every year? He goes to the NFL draft, and they have the most successful sport in the history of the world. And the commissioner goes up there, and every time he announces a draft pick, he gets booed. Just give me a break.
You don't 40 million a year. I'll take food.
Right, but you done a pretty good job for your league.
Yeah,
come on. But that's what it comes down to. It's very, very difficult to be a commissioner of a professional sport right now. When you're trying to deal with so many different points of view and to get everybody on the same page. And to the NFL's credit, they've done that.
Yeah, they certainly have. No question about that. And as I said, the only, and I've said this over the last now 3 years, and that is that the only commissioner that I look at now and say he really accomplishes something about keeping the Players Association as well as the owners all in the same package is Bettman with the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a contract a year before the contract is up.
Yep.
Now we spent all the second half of this year talking about are the clubs going to be locked out again? I mean, how can we do that? I mean, if they, in my view, my personal view, they lock this sport out again, I think they're asking for real trouble.
I agree because I think the sport has made a really good comeback and it's really popular again in many, many areas. But here, the bottom line is, how do you get everybody in baseball ownership to get together the way that they have in other sports? And the way you do it, of course, is to have a salary cap and to be more equitable in your distribution of revenues. And that's not going to happen in baseball. So hopefully we don't have that happen, what you just talked about. But we're never going to be a sport that's going to be able to come together because you're never going to be, in my opinion, I'm using the word never, and you should never say never about anything. But I don't see how anything could happen for them to be able to pull that off after all these years and all these fights that you've had with the association and somehow get it done now.
Well, I guess they even had some hot debate in the Phillies locker room when the commissioner was there making his normal stops around. Things didn't go too smoothly in Philadelphia.
Well, here's the thing, and you know me in a long time. I don't talk about things that I don't have any knowledge of. I'm not knowledge. I wasn't there. I know what you know about what happened in that clubhouse that time. Should that sort of stuff happen? I don't think so. I think there should be a respect involved that you would handle it a different way. And then again, when something happens, and Don and Roger, you guys are in a lot of Major League Baseball clubhouses, it was always sacrosanct that what happened in there, it stayed there. And we were like that. We were lucky enough or unlucky enough at times to see and hear things that you really didn't want to hear, but you didn't go anywhere with it. And that's what I think the worst thing to come out of that incident with Harper and the commissioner that you're talking about is that got out and people heard about that.
Right. Well, one before I let get to the end of our time here, Ed Wade. I always had such great respect for Eddie, and seeing him go in this last weekend was such a great thing for Philly. What he did in Houston and all of it. Who is he working for now? Who did Ed Wade work for now?
He's not. He's not working for the Phillies now? No, he's writing books and he's retired. His life is good and he's happy. You guys know what a good person he is.
Terrific.
He started out as an intern for Larry Shank and me. We could have ruined him right there. That could have been the end of his career right there working for us.
But how did his son make out at Annapolis? I know that he was really so proud of the fact that he decided to go down to Annapolis and graduate down there. And did he stay in the service, or what did he do?
No, I don't.
Come on in, Mike.
I saw him the other night and said hi to him and to his daughters and to Roxanne, his wife, and I don't know. But yes, he was extremely proud that Ryan was at the Naval Academy. Absolutely, and I believe he was a commissioned officer at one time. But whether or not I don't know. It's been a while.
Right. Well, you see, Ed, I'm just sorry I don't really run into him any place, but just tell him I said hello, and really was just so happy to see him being honored over the weekend and getting up on that wall. It was a great thing for him and for the team.
I will do that, Don. He's a good man, and he's always been a solid guy for those of us to work with. He didn't always get mad at you sometimes. He didn't want to tell you he didn't hear what you wanted to hear sometimes, but he was always up front with it. And I have a lot of respect for him. I was really happy for him last week, and for Jimmy Rollins, who's one of my favorite players.
Right.
Don, we're joined.
Before Chris goes, a couple things. Number one, also want to say about Greg Luzinski's grandson, Jax, who was a graduate of West Point, and the last I heard, he was going over to Latvia or someplace over in the Eastern European bloc. That's what I understood. But I did want to say this about baseball. You're right, Chris. I mean, the NFL, when you look at the way they have developed the draft, over the years. I mean, where it used to be at the Marriott Marquis, then it went to Radio City, now it's all over the country in different cities. But I was really happy to see that baseball really is making a big night of the draft now, or nights. And, I think it's long overdue because as a baseball fan, you're really getting engrossed. And I was really happy when the Phillies made their first pick, and but the kid's coming out of Arkansas, and they feel that he may make it to the major leagues in short time. I was excited about that.
Yeah, look, the NFL with what they do with their draft. Look, and the NBA too, because those guys are more instant players. Baseball, you guys have been around the game a long time. Even a college player is not an instant player, and let alone a high school player. Mm-hmm. We're talking about 4 years maybe. So it's really hard to have the same kind of interest in the baseball draft that you would have in the NFL and even the NBA, where they can get up there quick. They're not going to the minor leagues for 3 or 4 years before they become a star in the NBA. They can be, boom, right there. Football players, boom, right there, right out of college, they're stars. Baseball players, even if you're a really, really good college baseball player, how many of them do you hear about right away that are star Major League Baseball players? So it's a development sport. It's something that the draft, that you don't have the instant interest that you'll have in some other sports because of that reason, in my opinion.
And it just takes a lot longer to develop. Baseball players. I mean, we look at, we spend all our time now talking about what the players can do, and the thing that you mentioned at the top of the show, which I just can't watch it anymore. I don't care what bad velocity is. I don't care. I don't have to know is that a swerve? Is that a curveball? I mean, who the hell cares? You're looking at the game. You can see whether it's a breaking ball. You can see whether it's a fastball. Do I care whether it's a 2-seam fastball or a 4-seam? What do I care? But to put all this stuff down on the side of the screen with all these statistical things, who cares about it? Maybe it was interesting when Mickey Mantle hit that home run at Griffith Stadium in Washington that went 500 feet. Maybe it was. But does every home run that goes 340, is that an important home run in the series of baseball? I don't know.
Here's the thing. And people say, do you wish you were still doing it again? I go, no, because I don't want to do all that stuff. The bottom line is, look, the whole world is becoming AI now. Everything is technology. Yeah. Every day you get more and more advanced technology. So what are you going to do? Not have it in sports? So they overuse it. It's like anything else. you get to a point it's saturated, you overuse it, and you find another little toy to play with. I don't know what all those numbers mean and all that stuff, but obviously they think it's important, and it's what's in today's game. And I still love watching the game, but I don't need all that. Hey, look, when we were doing the games, we knew a guy was throwing hard if you were fouling off the other way. That's how right. We didn't have radar, and you could tell with a lot of, you knew a guy's threw. You could pick up off speed stuff because you could see the hitter would jump at it a little bit and be out front, so you knew it was off speed. But are they better off knowing all this stuff right now? Would I be doing games right now and every pitch tell you what it was and what velocity? I hope not. But I think you get caught up in it because they want you using the technology, the TV stations, that TV networks that you're working for want you to use that technology that they put on the screen because they're paying a lot of money for that technology. So when you say, Don, and I agree with you when you say who cares, a lot of people care, and a lot of people are the ones that are paying the bills for the guys that are doing it and have to talk about it. And they're the best.
Don, we got Mike Simsack ready to go.
Yeah, Mike's ready to go, but I just want to say one thing before you leave, Chris. I don't know if you're familiar with Game Changer or not. It's an app, but it's great for like my granddaughter plays a lot of softball, and I have that on my phone, and I can see when she's at bat. Yep. If you pay the premium, you can watch her bat. You can see the game, and they have a camera set up behind home plate. And it also electronically tells you when they hit the ball, it goes. I mean, this is for, she's in high school now. High school sports travel. I mean, it just goes to show you electronics. But anyway, you're the best. Go ahead.
You can't get left behind with that stuff. And it's pre-prepared. I remember getting really excited in Little League the first time I did a game and they had a PA announcer and they said my name. I thought that was
Exactly. Wheels, I want to thank you as always very, very much. It's great to get together. We talk about so many different things. And be sure to say love anyway. Be sure to tell the Phillies that the job they did for number 15 was just an outstanding job.
Good stuff. Good talking with you and Roger.
Always
you know that. We
Take
go
care,
back
Chris.
a long way, and we had a lot of fun.
We certainly did.
Never to be
guys.
duplicated.
All right.
Amen.
We're gonna take a
Thanks,
moment here
Chris.
break, and we'll come back with Mike Simsack and
Mike-
talk about what's happening in the world of
Don?
soccer as well as football. And
Mike's ready to go.
oh, he's ready to go. Okay, let's go right down to Washington, Baltimore then, right? Mike, a lot of things going on right now. An observation or two about Baltimore and Washington at training camp, and more importantly, with the first appearance on the field of the game.
Well, I'm sure that when you talk to Doug, he might have the same sentiments, but I think that they need to get a mass unit out the Ravens camp. The way that those guys are dropping, it's like another injury every day out there. As for the Commanders camp, the big story remains. I guess the biggest story for the Commanders is the story of the person who's not playing. And when we spoke in July, Terry McLaurin didn't have a contract, and now that we're speaking again in mid-August, guess what? Terry McLaurin still doesn't have a contract.
Right. Well, are you optimistic or are you pessimistic?
It seems, based on what I'm hearing, that they are about $8 million a year in annual salary and $15 million in guaranteed money apart. Look, those are big numbers for those of us who know that we will never make that much money in our lives. But I think it's an indication that they're getting a little bit closer than they were, because they weren't even in the same state. They might not have even been in the same continent when this whole thing started. The biggest issue, I guess, right now is that it doesn't seem like they're talking that much. It seems to be a very, very high-stakes game of chicken, and they want to see who blinks first. The longer that this goes on, it seems clear that the Commanders are going to end up being the loser, if you will, regardless of the outcome. They might save paying Terry McLaurin a couple $1 million a season, but the optics are not working for them. This is the guy who is in the face of the franchise for the last 6 years. He was the one who represented, who was always asked about all the issues when Dan Snyder was there. He was always, he was never threw the team under the bus. He always represented the team well. Right. He's out there on the sidelines even now that he's holding in, signing autographs and smiles, and he's a really great representative of the team. He's Daniel's favorite target. He's been productive. I know that the metrics say that the drop-off for wide receivers after they hit 30 tends to be precipitous, and it tends to come quickly. And they say they don't want to pay him for past production, but sometimes you just got to do that. This is a guy who will ultimately, at some point, likely be in the Redskins the Commanders' Ring of Honor, and I just don't see where they gain too much by dragging this out. Right. Figure it out, get the deal done. Likewise, they've got other free agents like Laramie Tunsil, like Deebo Samuels, who is going to be a free agent after this season, and who's only 6 months younger than Terry McLaurin. How are they going to pay him? What is he thinking about this? So I don't know who they're playing to. I don't know what point they're trying to make at this point in time. It just seems like it would be a better idea to just get the deal done.
Roger. We'll talk about soccer in a minute, but I wanted to talk to you. I guess you were talking about the stadium situation, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me ask you this: if you were a betting man, which I know you're not, Mike, would you bet that stadium is going to be built on the old site of the RFK?
If I was a betting man, I wouldn't bet. I wouldn't bet that the stadium's going to be there because I'd get really, really bad odds. It passed it passed the first hurdle. They had the vote. They approved it. The ultimate final vote will be on the 13th of September. But the major hurdle has already been cleared. They've had the public hearings, and it passed pretty convincingly. It was 9-3. So it got through. The big thing is that DC has this big piece of land that they got from the federal government that has RFK on it currently as they're trying to take it down. And ultimately, they're going to have to do something with it. So if it's not a stadium, then what else are they going to do? Because then you have this vacant property, hundreds of acres of vacant property in a pretty prime location, and you got to figure out something else to do to it. It's got to be hard to get somebody to come in and be able to put up a major project like a stadium. So it's in everybody's best interest in the city to get it done.
So you're betting on it go.
I'm betting on it go. The city wants someone to play there. The team wants to be there. It would be good for there to be a new state-of-the-art stadium in Washington, D.C. It's a good, it's all around good.
Right.
I think City Council made a few tweaks that make it a little bit more beneficial for D.C. and takes some of the burden off of them. They got those minor changes in the rent and stuff that they wanted, but it looks like an all-around pretty decent deal, and they really desperately need to do something with this land because either they're going to lose it, or they're going to be forced to deal with it piecemeal, which means they won't get near the sort of revenue that they can generate from building a new stadium and an entertainment complex down there.
Oh, I think it makes sense, and I think that site, I'm very familiar with it. Don and I went down there to see an Eagles game. I guess might have even been the last year that the Redskins were playing there. But I really do. I agree with you. I think that's the right spot. Now, the next question is, how much is Josh Harris and the Commanders going to contribute, or isn't that known?
The city is contributing around $800 million to it. So the Commanders' estimates are somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.5 to 2. Like a 1.8 to 2.3 billion. The Commanders are putting up the bulk of the money to get it done. It's hard to put a firm number on it because, with overages and things like this, anytime you build a stadium, you start off and you say, okay, well, this is going to be a $3 billion project. And by the time they're done, it's like it's added another 33% on there. So they're on the hook for a couple of $1 billion. I suspect that, we'll see the personal seat licenses, which, no one is a big fan of. I suspect that the naming rights deal, which could be the most valuable in sports, will give them the upfront costs, will help them with the upfront costs to get the thing built. And so they'll be able to defray it that way. And the NFL has their stadium fund, and they'll kick in some money too.
Now let's get back to your heart and soul. That is the world of soccer, because there's all kinds of speculation about what's going to happen, and not only the different venues that they're going to be playing in during the World Cup, but also how much this is going to bring in terms of revenue to, especially the MetLife in the New York, New Jersey area. You were sort of a little bit pessimistic a month or so ago about maybe it's not going to be quite as profitable as everybody thinks it's going to be. Have you changed your mind on that?
Oh, no, I wasn't questioning the profit that the World Cup was going to bring in. I didn't think that the Club World Cup, the tournament that just ended up in MetLife, was bringing in as much as they thought it was going to bring in. And I think the numbers bear it out, although they said it was extremely successful. I think that they, at least for the group stages, fell so far short of expectations that it's hard to call it a big success. It was a combination of the teams that were playing and the price of the tickets being really expensive. I don't think that you're going to have those problems for the World Cup because it's the World Cup, because it's the national tournament. And FIFA tends to do a little bit better about regulating the prices on tickets to make them more affordable because they don't want empty games. There's no real resale market for World Cup tickets. It's not like you could go, you can have those bots buy a bunch of them and then resell them on StubHub. It doesn't really work like that. So there have been questions about where the games are going to be played, if they're going to move them. We live on the East Coast. You guys are down in Florida. We've been in Philly. We've been in D.C. It rains here in the summer. We get thunderstorms. That's a fact of life. We get them.
We got them tonight, right now.
Yeah. Sometimes games get delayed by lightning. It happens. It seems like a lot of people who are not used to being in, a lot of people who are coming over to watch the games, a lot of people who weren't used to being in the United States, and a lot of foreign media were somehow alarmed by the lightning strikes, by the lightning delays and stuff like that. And it was like a big concern for them. And for us, it's like, this is something that we do, Sometimes they were a little bit. It was a little bit weird that they would, you'd start a game about 20 minutes, then you'd have a 20-minute lightning delay. You'd start late, you'd play 20 minutes, you'd have a 25-minute lightning delay, play another 25 minutes, have halftime, and it made the games go on too longer. So I think that it is a situation where we're going to have to delay a game as a result.
So, my man, I'm going to put you right into the system.
All right. Move on, but we know how to handle this to keep people safe, so I wouldn't worry about too much about that. But they said that they're going to try. FIFA responded by saying they would consider moving them to more indoor covered stadiums and things like that. I don't think that's necessarily the answer, but I do think that the World Cup is going to be successful. It's going to probably be one of the more profitable ones, just based.
Roger? Yeah, one of the things I wanted to get back to the stadium for just a second, DC. Is there any consideration of having that with a roof or a retractable roof?
Oh, yeah, it'll have a roof.
It'll have a roof. Okay. The reason is the Mike Sealski in the Inquirer had a great column, I guess it was last week, I saw it, that it was that Jeffrey Lurie wants to build a new stadium. And obviously it would be enclosed so that they can have the big concert, in a 70,000 seat amphitheater. And but Mike's point was, okay, Jeffrey, you're a great person, you're a great philanthropist, but you got to put up the money. And, the link isn't that old, but I guess it's like about close to 25 years now, right? Hard to believe. But I remember when the link was built, a friend of mine that worked for the Eagles at the time, he said that it would have cost $50 million to put the roof or enclose the link, which, you're right, Mike. You put that into today's numbers, that's probably going to be $200 million or more, for what was $50 million 25 years ago. But I think that when they're building these new stadiums, and I know I saw the one on the preseason game in Buffalo, the fans wanted the way open air because they like the idea of maybe having a weather advantage late in the season. But I think that in most cases, a new stadium, this way you can pretty much get the Super Bowl, you can get probably the NCAA tournament and things like that. So I'm glad that they're going to do that.
Hey, Don, we're joined by Doug.
That's exactly the thinking, Roger, is that they put a roof on it, be it retractable, but I think it's going to be more like what you see. The designs that I have seen make it look almost exactly like a cross between SoFi Stadium in LA and the stadium where the Minnesota Vikings play.
Oh, okay.
It's going to kind of have that glass roof type effect, but they're doing it because they want to be able to have the NCAA tournament and to be able to have the Super Bowl. And the only way that you can have either one of those at DC is if you have an enclosed stadium.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Okay. Doug's with us, I guess, Don. So, Doug, are you there?
He's there.
Okay. All right. Great to talk to you, gentlemen. I'll catch up with you next week.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Mike, have a great week.
Quarterback, he had a great time on the sidelines over the weekend. He was laughing and interviewing, and he looks like he's ready, relaxed and ready to go for a new season.
Well, I think we've had some season-long discussions here stemming from spring training, the off-season, talking about the Orioles and their lack of off-season moves to shore up a 90-win team from a previous season. So I think all signs here in the Baltimore area point to football season, as we've pretty much turned the page on an otherwise disappointing Baltimore Orioles season. And looking at some of the players they're running out on the field and starting in their lineups are pretty embarrassing. We've scoured every waiver wire and, designated player and claimed and all these different things to get people, Gregor Gallen and Ryan Noda and like some of these guys that are just a bunch of cast-offs that, we have some, but my guess is, I guess it's August 15th is kind of the demarcation line where, I think you're going to see at least 2 Orioles called up on AAA. I'm guessing Sam Basallo is one, and I'm guessing Dylan Beavers is the second. So, Felix Bautista is done for the year. Zach Eflin is done for the year. We've already chronicled Grayson Rodriguez not coming back. I don't know that he'll ever. I don't know if that guy will pitch again. He's a ticking time bomb with his right elbow. Bautista now has a significant shoulder surgery. So what does that mean for 2026? Again, I think that the Orioles are going to play out the rest of their season, and hopefully we can see some young talent infusion to figure out what we have for next year and where we need to go to stock the coverage again. Rubenstein will open up his checkbook and we can spend some money in the off season. I tell you, I'd really like to see Kyle Tucker roam the outfield and right field, but I don't think they're going to spend that kind of money.
Only thing is, Doug, it doesn't. You talked about this a lot all during the course of this season. Really, coming out of last year, everybody had great expectations, and things just went south. I mean, it's hard to believe that Baltimore, with the talent, the young talent. The only thing I can say, I think Holiday is starting to turn the corner. I think he's going to be a professional player. Like it took him a year and a half to get his feet on the ground, but I think he's going to be a player now.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah,
he looks like he's having more and more, we'll say, competitive and professional at bats. The big knock on him when the Orioles decided he wasn't going to make it out of spring training, a few years ago, was that he had the inability to hit left-handed pitching, which I think he's had his swings this year and been able to do so. I think the double play tandem of Gunnar Henderson and Jackson Holiday should be solidified for years to come.
right.
I like the fact that Jordan Westberg's a solid third baseman. I don't know what to say about Abby Grossman. He just since the All-Star break of last year through this entire season, he's had injuries and just has not played well. Hasn't looked good defensively, hasn't looked well offensively. I'm excited to see Kobe Mayo continue to play first base and play the rest of the season to see what he has and some of the seasoning, if you will, that he may need to move forward. Big disappointment for me is Colton Cowser. After almost winning the Rookie of the Year, I feel like he's just not turned the corner, as you mentioned, with Jackson Holiday in terms of building on that season of 20-plus home runs.
But the thing is, Doug, if there's one thing, and maybe Roger would agree with us too, there's one thing that's been proven this year, maybe better than any year recently, and that is where do we stand pitching-wise? I mean, the Yankees pitching went south, and so did they.
Yeah.
The Mets pitching went south, and so did they. You could have $3 million payroll, but if you can't pitch, you can't win.
Well, I think we have two ways we can look at this moving forward. I think a healthy Kyle Bradish is, he pitched in many ways like an ace when he was healthy, so I'd let him at the top of our rotation. If we could slot him in there, maybe 2. I think that, and I can't believe this because I was, one of the biggest malcontents with the whole Trevor Rogers trade, but damn, he's pitching tonight. He's really looks good this season. I mean, he has a sub 2 ERA. Is this something that can continue? So I like him as my 3. I think Dean Kramer is a solid 4. And I think if you look at what's left, you've got Tyler Wells, which I think he'll probably have to go to the bullpen. I think Gabe Bovich has pitched well in spot starts in these days. You're going to battle some people. But I still think of course, the time that we need a bona fide number 1, and obviously when we had Corbin Burns healthy for that year, we had that guy, we had that dog. But
if they just had one guy like that, one stopper, one guy that they could actually, look what's happened to the Yankees, because they don't have that one stopper. The guy, he had to get Tommy John surgery, and that was it for the year. They don't have a stopper.
Well, the Orioles have always been reticent to spend money for a top of the rotation guy. I think if you're looking at next year, Trevor Valdez from Houston will be available, and I know perhaps he has ties with Mike Elias in that Houston organization. I don't know how far back that goes, but I'd like to see a guy like that, in the top of our rotation, and that would certainly make me feel a lot better about, running our 1 through 5 out there. And then the 5 that I gave you doesn't include Grayson Rodriguez, because I don't know what his scenario is going to be, moving forward into the future. If he can slot in at the 3 spot and move Trevor down to 4, and, so that changes things. That would be a pretty damn good rotation. But to me, I think you're missing a bona fide professional hitter / middle of the order lineup, bat. And again, I don't see the Orioles going out to spend money on a guy like Kyle Tucker, who's probably going to command, north of $300 million when they weren't willing to give Santander that same, deal for a 40 home run guy. So I'm not sure what that does, but Tyler O'Neill's certainly not the answer as we've arrived at this year.
Roger?
Well, I want to give everyone an update. The Phillies were limited to 3 hits with Cincinnati tonight. Lost 8-0. So they lost 2 out of 3. They were lucky to win the first game. They came back and won that. So, as at least Chris Wheeler agrees with me, the Phillies hitting is suspect. And some of those games.
How is that even possible?
I don't know. I'll tell you.
It's not like, you look at the Orioles and they have a bunch of 20-somethings and they can be punch bunk or whatever, however you want to look at it in terms of their hitting. I mean, for Pete's sake, Dean Kramer threw innings yesterday and gave up 1 run and they lost. I mean, you can't score 1 run, but looking at the Phillies, holy crap, I mean, Realmuto, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, crap. I mean, Harper, Bohm, it just keeps going. Castellanos, that's a great team.
Yeah, Harper really does. Harper really has had a really consistent. He's around that 268 to 272 mark all year. Yeah, and now he has hit he's hit a few home runs. I don't mean he's not hitting a low ball, but he's not the player that he was last year. Now, whether it's a wrist injury or what it is, I don't know. But
age. Look at their starting pitching.
The starting pitching is great, and they've really taken care of the bullpen.
You got Wheeler, Nola, Luzardo, Sanchez.
Nola's coming back. He's doing a rehab at the Lehigh Valley. Okay. But they have the starting pitching. And like Don, you said, Christopher Sanchez started out great tonight. Yeah. But they're behind the 8 ball all the time because the hitters are not hitting. And they can be winning, but when you get to the playoffs, if you're going to have great pitching, but you still got to hit. And they are very inconsistent, and their hitting this year is nowhere near what it was the last couple of years.
I'll tell you, Roger, the thing that surprised me more than anything else, though, is the fact that over the last 6 weeks, Schwarber, he's hit 300. He's hit 298.
He's done well. Yeah.
And not only the home runs and RBIs, he's hit over 100 RBIs already.
Let me tell you who would look good in a Baltimore Oriole uniform next year. Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah. Well, I think he looked good in a lot of uniforms. But
he's going to get a big number. And
he's 29 now, right?
I think he's north of 30. I think he's about 31.
Is he? I thought he was 29. Okay.
He's going to get a 3-year deal unless somebody overpays and gives him a 5-year deal for 3 years of production. But while we're on the horn here, our commander-in-chief, Frank Carroll, I had my first flag football practice tonight. The season's already upon us, and I've got 10 really good kids here. But if you're not doing anything, I need a couple plays against the zone defense 5-on-5.
No problem. No problem. I'll send you up my old playbook.
Right, I need a little help here. I got these kids. We ran some pretty good plays tonight, but it was a fun practice. The kids. The practice was supposed to be from 6 to 7, We started at 5:50, and when the clock ticked to 7 o'clock, they all looked at me and said, "Can we practice longer, Coach?" I said,
Hey, that's great.
I said, "Well, technically no, but let's just not tell anybody." And we spent another 20 minutes in a 4-on-4 scrimmage. I had 2 kids that didn't make it, but this is going to be a lot of fun. Let me tell you something. Last year, I had one receiver. This kid is electric with the football in his hands, and my son recruited one of his friends to play on this year's team, who's a newbie. This kid's better than that one. And he made a couple plays. He did a jump cut tonight after he caught this pass. He like to break this other kid's ankles. I mean, he is electric with the football. Holy crap. Put those 2 kids on the field at the same time. I don't want to cover either one.
There you go. There you go.
You know,
Congratulations.
12, 13?
We got, so it's the age group is technically 11, 12. It's the same age group that we played in last year, but most of my kids were like 10, 11. So I feel like I'm, in the right spot here with a little bit, older kids. And a couple of kids have grown. Last year, the issue was they were so tiny that, guys would throw a football up there and the other team would just reach over top of them and catch it. And there's nothing I could do about it. I tried to out-quick them in terms of like running, quick slants and outs and stuff like that to do it. But the zone defense is the one that kills me because my kids just don't sit. They keep running their patterns all the way through, and they wind up running into another defender instead of just sitting in the soft spot.
Right.
So,
well, I'll tell you one thing you can do. I mentioned this at the top when you first came on. We did PGA professional, master professional, as a matter of fact. And I'll tell you, our state of New Jersey is having a fantastic summer. I mean, women's amateur won over the weekend. Young lady from Homedale, right down the road here. The kid over and they went to Ryder and then went to Oklahoma for 1 year. That finished won the not Spain. Where did he win I can't think where it was now. But anyway, he finished what, second or third in the Open, and he finished first in the Spanish tournament. But New Jersey is really making a move here on the golf front from both an amateur standpoint and a professional standpoint. And how about that over the weekend? Yeah. Rose, that guy's getting younger every day. He's 41. Unbelievable. He keeps winning.
He's got a pretty timeless golf swing in terms of the ease of which he and Adam Scott, I think, are drinking water from the fountain of youth here in terms of their abilities to play at this level and produce. No question. I always like Justin Rose's golf swing. It's really pretty simple. But what's really nice is, once we start talking about the Ryder Cup and how that kind of shapes itself moving forward, to see a guy like J.J. Spawn put himself in a position to likely be on that team is pretty cool.
How about that? How about he lost in the playoff this weekend? He came out of nowhere.
He's pretty much obscure in terms of the beginning of the season. I don't think that you would have mentioned his name for any good reason in terms of consistency or wins or the ability to be a part of that Ryder Cup team. We've spent so many years talking about the Mickelsons and the Woods and the big names. Obviously now it's Scotty Scheffler who rules the world of golf, but to see J.J. Spawn really make a name for himself is what everything's all about in terms of the American dream and how you can go from nothing to something and something to something more in terms of winning a major and making headways week to week in terms of being able to put yourself on that leaderboard.
And then Doug, then you go to the other side of the ledger. Fleetwood did it again, 2-stroke lead. Unbelievable. The guy can't close.
That's a hard one because you just, it's like, you guys are very well versed in sports, and you look at a guy like Michael Jordan who just couldn't get past the Detroit Pistons. He just couldn't get past the New York Knicks, and then all of a sudden he does, and then they win 6 championships. You're waiting for that breakthrough, and everybody, like, your your John Elways, your Peyton Mannings, like, you know, he couldn't beat the New England Patriots. He could, you know what I mean? Like, you just keep, you know, it's like playing a video game. You get all the way to the end, and you get to battle the big boss, and you just keep losing and losing and losing until you beat him. It's like, I remember Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. You get all the way to the end, and you play Mike Tyson, and you can't beat him. You know what I mean? Like, you just keep playing, and then all of a sudden one time you do it, and, you know, here we are. So, you know, he's going to look, if he keeps putting himself in that position moving forward, sooner or later, you know, he's going to do the right thing, and he's going to get his win. And
well, that's what he said in the post interview yesterday. He said, you know, you get here enough times, you got to win one. I mean, what is he, 30 something now, 33 or 34 now, where he's got in it and hadn't been able to close.
Right. Well, he was at Camden Yards yesterday, I think. A bunch of those guys are in town for the BMW at Caves Valley, and he was watching an O's game. I guess it was yesterday. Yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah, the BMW is local. I mean, you gotta think, holy crap! Like, I played Caves Valley a bunch of times. I mean, I've played in casual rounds. I played in you know, tournaments in terms of the pro member, and you know, what a great golf course. They've made some wonderful changes over the years to lengthen it a little bit. You know, it's a good layout. It's a Fazio design. It's you know, when you talk about Patrick Cantlay tearing that place up, you know, when he won, yeah, there's a lot of good holes out there.
Frank just gave us the word, fellas.
What?
Sorry, tick, 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 tock.
Well, I didn't hear Frank.
Well, Schwarber is 32. He was 32 in March.
I put
Don. Okay.
I put a couple extra quarters in the parking meter. Don't we have some more time?
Doug, thank you very much. We'll get together again next week. Thanks to all our guests tonight. Yep. Our exec producer, Frank Bell, will close it out. And Roger, we'll talk later.
Okay, sounds good. God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, these programs are brought to you each and every night of the week in grateful appreciation to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, the men and women police and fire services. When you're out there and you see somebody in uniform, please take time to say hello. These programs are dedicated to those who've lost their lives in line of duty. Deputy Robert Anthony Carroll, Patrolman David Curtis, Patrolman Jeffrey Colcap, Patrolman Jeffrey Yazwitz, Sergeant Thomas Batinger, San Diego Officer Mike Hendler, Sergeant Tom Wilson, Charlotte County Sheriff's Department, Detective Randy Bell, Detective Ricky Childers, Patrolman Charlie Condit, Tarpon Springs Police Department, Deputy Chief Mike Godwin, Philadelphia Fire Department, Lieutenant Joyce Craig Lewis, Philadelphia Fire Department, Sergeant James O'Connor, Philadelphia Police Department, Sergeant Chris LeVake, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department. So that's, excuse me. Lieutenant Mike Zerba, Newcastle County Police, Patrolman Anafo Chrisman, Lakeland PD, Deputy Josh Myers, Nassau County Sheriff's Department, Captain Matt Letourneau, Philadelphia Fire Department, Captain Chris Leach, Wilmington Fire Department, Lieutenant Ardith Hope, Wilmington Fire Department, Lieutenant Jerry Ficus, Wilmington Fire Department, the Chief Jimmy Ford, Wilmington Fire Department, Chief Al Hogle, Longbow Key Police Department, Deputy Mike Hargrove, Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, Trooper Chelsea Richard, Florida Highway Patrol, Trooper Joe Bullock, Florida Highway Patrol, Trooper Zachary Ben, Florida Highway Patrol, Sergeant Chris Fitzgerald, Philadelphia Police Department, excuse me, Sergeant Ramon Mendez, Philadelphia Police Department, Chief Corey Compantier, Buffalo Creek Fire Department, Deputy Ronnie Monazinski, Manatee County Sheriff's Department. My brothers and sisters, though you may be 10-7 at this point in time, and sometime we'll be 10-10 at the table of the Lord. Till that time, may the roads rise up to meet you. May the winds be always at your back. May the rains fall softly on your fields and the sun shine lightly on your face. Until we meet again, may the good Lord keep you and your family always in the palm of his hands. Good night. God bless and have a great weekend.